Welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast.
Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching or listening to this deep dive. Right now, in a quiet corner of Ohio, the last American tank factory, the only place in the entire country capable of building the M1 Abrams, is caught in a battle you've probably never heard about. Is it being protected or sabotaged from the inside? While China ramps up its war machine, parts of the Pentagon push to cut U.S. tank production. Tonight, we break down what really happened and why America's industrial strength may be the deciding factor in the next major conflict. But before we dive in, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the stories the mainstream skips. And I want to hear from you seriously. Jump into the comments and tell me. Should America ramp up tank production, or are we building too much? Your opinions drive this channel, and I read every single comment. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We're starting in Lima, Ohio, the Joint Systems Manufacturing Center. On the surface, it just looks like a huge factory. But what our sources are saying is that it's much more than just a factory.
It's so much more. That's really the core of it. Lima is the nation's. Well, it's the last remaining facility that can actually build an M1 Abrams tank.
The last one.
The very last one. And this isn't just about, snapping parts together. We're talking about the entire ecosystem, the highly specialized welders, the machinists, the people who really understand this stuff.
So if this place goes quiet,
the whole industrial backbone for our main battle tank, it vanishes.
And it hasn't been quiet. The line has been running, right? I read they were building about a dozen tanks a month.
That's right. Thanks to some earlier funding, things have been steady. But then all of a sudden, this push came from inside the Pentagon bureaucracy to just slash production.
And that's the conflict here, because it wasn't the Army that wanted this.
No, not at all. That's the fascinating part.
Yeah.
The U.S. Army, in their own internal planning documents, they actually want this plant running. They need it to be ready for the new M1E3.
The next generation tank.
Exactly. The next gen, AI-enabled Abrams.
Yeah.
But then the budget request for fiscal year 2026 gets synthesized by the bureaucracy, and it proposes a devastating cut.
How bad was it?
They proposed to building only 30 tanks.
30? For the whole year?
Of the entire year. I mean, that's not a production schedule. That's a planned shutdown. It's a maintenance budget, really.
And what does a number that low actually do to a place like Lima? Because the argument we always hear is, well, we can just ramp it up later if we need to.
And that argument is it's strategically naive. A number like 30 tanks, that's what we call the production cliff.
That cliff.
Yeah, it immediately triggers layoffs. But not just any layoffs. You lose those specialized tradespeople, the welders who are certified for classified armor, the technicians who handle the Abrams digital systems.
And once they're gone,
they don't come back. They go find jobs in aerospace or somewhere else. And that knowledge, that human-centered industrial know-how, it just dissipates.
So the real asset isn't just the steel, it's the skill.
Precisely, which gets to the heart of the strategic debate here, the difference between inventory and capability.
Right. The bureaucrat said, we have enough tanks in storage.
But having a big pile of something isn't the same as being able to make more of it. An inventory is great for today. A hot production line, that's your insurance policy for tomorrow. It's the ability to surge when you really need to.
And that idea that industrial warfare is back. I mean, Ukraine really drove that point home, didn't it? The whole just-in-time logistics model seems almost quaint now.
It completely shattered that assumption. Russia's invasion proved that attrition rates in a modern high-intensity fight they're astronomical.
Yeah.
You need industrial depth.
You need to be able to replace what you lose.
And sustain it. The nations that can build and sustain material over the long haul are the ones that win. End of story.
You mentioned the M1E3 earlier. Why is keeping this old line hot so critical for a tank that's still in development?
Because the M1E3 isn't just a small upgrade. It's a revolutionary one. It's lighter, it's more modular, it's going to have AI integrated for targeting.
So a totally different beast.
Totally. And you can't build a 21st century tank in a cold 20th century factory. You need that skilled workforce practicing on prototypes, involving their skills to handle the new materials before you need to mass produce it. If that line cools down, the M1E3 program gets delayed by years and costs billions more.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. The counter-argument is that we're preserving skills for a weapon, a tank, that might be obsolete. Future wars are about drones, cyber. Why keep a tank factory alive at all?
That's a huge gamble. It assumes we can perfectly predict the next war, and we never can. And Look, we don't have to guess about the risk. We have a perfect and very painful example of what happens when you let this kind of knowledge disappear.
You're talking about the BAE Systems plant in Pennsylvania?
I am. The ghost of Christmas past, you could call it. It's a really harsh warning sign.
So what happened there?
Well, about a decade ago, under the Obama administration, they halted production of armored vehicles at a BAE plant, the Bradley fighting vehicles. It was a cost-saving measure.
The line went cold.
It went dormant. Then, a few years later, the Army urgently needed to restart production. And they found they couldn't. The capacity was just gone.
What do you mean gone? The building was still there.
The building was there, but the people weren't. The institutional memory was gone. When the first new vehicles came off the line, the welds, they failed inspection over and over again.
The welds failed.
Yeah, because those specific high-tolerance welders had retired or moved on. The specific tooling, the jigs and fixtures, they'd rusted or been cannibalized for other projects. The Army ended up paying a massive premium just to relearn how to build something they'd been building for decades.
So the short-term savings led to a massive long-term cost.
A massive one. And huge delays. Delivery schedules slipped by over a year. That is the cost of cooling the line.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the risk that Lima was facing.
That's a stark example. And while this whole debate was happening here about whether we could afford to keep one factory open, what were our adversaries doing? You mentioned China.
They're doing the exact opposite. And it makes the debate in Washington look completely disconnected from reality. While we were arguing about layoffs, Beijing launched the largest peacetime defense industrial expansion since World War II.
The largest since World War II. That is a staggering phrase. What does that actually look like on the ground?
It's a total focus on volume, on capacity. The data shows they've doubled their output of armored vehicles, artillery, missiles in just the last 5 years. Doubled.
So their mindset is completely different.
Fundamentally different. They're not thinking about just-in-time supply chains. Their state-owned companies are running production lines in places like Inner Mongolia on multiple shifts.
Multiple shifts. So they're operating like they're already at war.
That's exactly it. They are preparing their entire industrial base for sustained, high-intensity combat. They're betting that sheer numbers and the ability to replace losses will, over time, overwhelm Western precision.
It's a strategy of industrial endurance.
And that's what makes this whole Lima situation so critical. It's not just about tanks. It's about deterrence.
Explain that. How does a factory in Ohio deter China?
Because deterrence isn't just about having the best tech. It's about showing you have the will and the means to use it and replace it at scale. Every M1 Abrams built in Ohio proves that America can still make things in volume, with quality, at speed. Manufacturing strength is military strength.
So how was the Lima plant saved from that 30-tank cliff?
Well, Congress stepped in. They recognized Lima for what it is, a national strategic asset, not just a line item.
So they added funding.
They did. But the real rescue, the thing that provided the necessary volume to keep the forge lit, was a foreign military sale. The recent deal to sell 300 Abrams tanks to Saudi Arabia.
So that sale bridged the gap. It kept the line hot while the Army sorts out the transition to the M1 E3.
Exactly right. These foreign sales are the lifeblood of the defense industrial base. They prevent that catastrophic decay we saw with BAE. It keeps the lines humming, the workers trained, and it basically allows the U.S. to subsidize its own future readiness.
That's a great way to think about it. It's not just about helping an ally. It's an insurance policy for ourselves.
It is. It's like keeping your firehouse fueled and your firefighters trained. You don't call it pork just because there hasn't been a fire this week. The cost of keeping that line hot is, believe me, exponentially lower than trying to restart it from cold in the middle of a crisis.
So when you pull it all together, this whole fight over Lima wasn't really about the tank.
No, it was a clash of philosophies. It was about elected leaders who saw the need for long-term industrial readiness versus a bureaucracy that was focused on short-term financial efficiency.
And the readiness argument won out.
It had to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the ability to maintain this industrial capability, that's one of the most powerful signals we can send. Every tank that rolls out of Ohio doesn't just strengthen the Army. It strengthens America's entire industrial foundation. And it tells our adversaries we are ready for the long fight.
Not just a short skirmish.
Absolutely. Because the next major conflict, if it comes, will be won by the nation with the deepest and fastest manufacturing base. The skills of those welders in Ohio, they're now a core component of American power.
Thank you for listening or watching this deep dive into the strategic importance of America's manufacturing base. We hope this gave you the necessary insight to understand the gravity of the debate happening right now in Ohio. For more in-depth analyses of critical global topics, make sure you check out our other deep dives wherever you get your podcasts. If you found this discussion valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Geostrategic Podcast for more in-depth analysis on topics that shape our world. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay tuned for the next episode.